Why Coco Gauff kept apologizing to Alexandra Eala. Shocking behind-the-scenes truth revealed. The tennis world is no stranger to rivalries, friendships, and the small dramas that unfold silently behind bright stadium lights. But every once in a while, a story breaks through the noise, something personal, unexpected, and powerful enough to stop fans mid-scroll. And in 2025, that story centered around two rising stars, Coco Gauff and Alexandra Eala. It all began with a question whispered through locker rooms, pressing the headlines, and debated in tennis circles. Why did Coco Gauff keep apologizing to Alexandra Eala? The answer wasn't a scandal. It wasn't a feud. It wasn't a backhanded comment caught on mic. It was something deeper, a behind-the-scenes truth that revealed the fragile human side of two young champions living under impossible pressure. This is the story the world wasn't supposed to hear. The rise of two stars destined to collide. From the beginning, Coco Gauff and Alexandra Eala seemed destined for parallel greatness. Both were teenage sensations. Both possessed maturity far beyond their years. Both carried the expectations of their countries like invisible backpacks, heavy, loaded, never taken off. And both were ascending fast through the WTA ranks. Their paths crossed at junior tournaments long before the world knew their names. They met in hallways, at practice courts, during warm-ups, exchanging shy smiles and short conversations. What started as polite camaraderie grew into gentle familiarity. Two teens who understood the unique loneliness of early fame. But as their careers soared, the space between them began to shrink until they collided. And that's when everything changed. The unseen pressure that sparked the apology spiral. Behind every powerful forehand, every promotional shoot, every press conference smile, there is a storm. Coco Gauff experienced it first, the fame hurricane. Winning a Grand Slam as a teenager thrust her into a new world, one filled with relentless interviews, sponsorships, and expectations that nearly drowned her. Suddenly, her schedule was no longer hers. Her life was booked months in advance. Every word she uttered mattered. Every expression could become a headline. Alexandra Eala, climbing quickly into the top 30, felt a similar gust hitting her career. But while Coco's life became chaotic and noisy, Alex's became isolating. She trained alone more often, traveled alone more often, and faced pressure from Southeast Asia's hungry sports media. Both young women were struggling, privately, but only one realized how much the tension had changed her behavior. The tournament incident that triggered everything. The beginning of Gauff's guilt traces back to one particular moment during a mid-2024 premier tournament. Coco and Alex were both set to compete. They hadn't spoken deeply in months due to increasingly separate schedules. On the morning of their matches, Alexandra walked into the players' lounge and saw Coco at a table surrounded by agents, magazine editors, and photographers. She waved quietly, a warm, subtle gesture, but Coco didn't notice. Not because she was being rude, but because she was overwhelmed. She was being handed scripts to rehearse. Flashbulbs were going off. Her agent was reading headlines aloud. People were tugging her in 5 different directions. To an outsider, the chaos looked normal for a superstar. But to Alexandra, still navigating the sensitive, vulnerable climb to stardom, it felt like Coco had forgotten her. She walked away before Coco even realized she was there. And Coco only learned of it later that evening, when a physio casually mentioned. Alex looked a bit hurt. I think she tried to say hi. Those 11 words planted a seed of guilt Coco could not shake. Silence between friends hits harder than any loss. After that moment, Coco became hyper-aware of every interaction with Alexandra. If Alex responded slowly to texts, Coco wondered if she was upset. If Alex avoided eye contact in locker rooms, Coco felt responsible. If Alex walked out of a meeting early, Coco assumed she had something to do with it. Coco started apologizing frequently. Sometimes for small things, sometimes for things that weren't even her fault. It became a pattern. Sorry I didn't apply sooner. Sorry about earlier, I was distracted. Sorry if that came out wrong. Sorry, I just hope we're okay. Alexandra didn't know what to make of it at first. She never accused Coco of anything. She wasn't angry. She wasn't holding grudges. But Coco felt she had distanced herself unintentionally, swept away in a fame wave she couldn't control. She felt she had let Alexandra down. And Alexandra, being equally soft-hearted, didn't know how to tell Coco, "You didn't do anything wrong." Thus the silence grew, and so did the apologies. The emotional breakdown in Dubai. What truly unlocked the shocking truth happened in early 2025 at a charity exhibition in Dubai. Both players were invited, unexpectedly, to a private dinner for elite athletes. It wasn't televised. It wasn't public. It was meant to be a relaxing event where the brightest stars could mingle off the court. But Coco walked in nervous. Alexandra was already there, standing by a balcony, overlooking the city lights. This was the moment the world never saw. Coco approached her with tears already threatening. And before Alexandra could even say hello, Coco whispered, "I'm sorry, Alex, for everything." Alexandra, confused, asked, "Everything? Coco, what do you mean?" And then it came out, the confession that shocked even Alexandra. Coco admitted. She feared she had unintentionally made Alex feel inferior. She thought she let fame change her. She believed she had neglected their early friendship. She worried Alex resented her success. She felt guilty for being too busy, too distracted, too overwhelmed. She regretted not being there when Alex needed support during tough training stretches. Coco broke down as she said, "I don't want to be someone who hurts people I care about, even accidentally." To Alex, this was unexpected and heartbreaking. She hugged Coco tightly and said, "You never hurt me. You just didn't know I was struggling too." Coco finally explains everything publicly. In mid-2025, during a podcast interview, Coco was asked a simple question. "Why did you keep apologizing, Alexandra Eala?" And her answer stunned listeners. "Because I didn't want fame to erase the people who mattered before the world started watching." She continued, "Alex has always been genuine with me. And sometimes when life gets loud, you forget to appreciate the people who made your early journey less lonely." The world finally understood. The headlines finally made sense. And Alexandra, in her own interview later, said, "Coco never owed me any apologies. But the fact she cared enough to give them, that's what makes her special." A final, quiet truth. At the core of this story lies something simple, human, and profound. Two young women chasing greatness didn't drift apart because of rivalry. They drifted apart because life became overwhelming. And they came back together through honesty, vulnerability, and emotional maturity rare for their age. Coco apologized not out of guilt, but out of love. Alexandra forgave not out of obligation, but out of understanding. And that's what makes their behind-the-scenes truth shocking. It wasn't about conflict. It was about care. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share. Till next time.